Okay, great. Hey, Ben, how are
Hey,
you?
Kay. I'm great. How are you doing?
Good, good. Monday. Oh my God. Yeah,
Monday
it's
morning. Yeah.
oof. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Eastern, and it's even earlier for you too, right?
No, I'm Eastern as well. Yeah,
Oh,
we're
you are.
same time.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I can never keep track of like different parts of the country.
I
My
know
sister
what you
used to, yeah, my sister used to live in Indiana, and they would actually change. They never changed their time zone, and
mean.
so you never knew what time it was with her.
Yeah, because daylight savings, you're saying? Like
Right.
they
Right.
just
Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
have a sister in Arizona, same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where I'm constantly Googling what time is it in Arizona right now
Right.
because it changes. Yeah, exactly. Whether or
It's
not it's daylight savings or not. Can't keep it straight.
Oh yeah. And then if you work globally, and if you work with people like in Europe and they change their clocks like 2 weeks different, like
Yeah.
it used to completely wreck my like when I was doing localization, I had to talk to everybody at specific times. And
Yeah.
for like 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, twice a year, everything with Europe would be completely upside down. And they're like, "Yeah, we changed our clocks." Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you did. Thanks. Great. Yeah, I have to deal with
Yeah,
that.
great.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Awesome. So yeah, you were just talking before we started recording about, a lot of the things that have come up with your book. And I thought that was a fascinating topic just to start us off with. And I guess our
Yeah.
goal overall is just to hone in on what's going on with AI and just talk
Mm.
about it every couple weeks and see what
Right.
comes of it. So
Yeah, and just to explore because what really strikes me over and over when I have conversations with people is that our experiences are so unique and
yeah.
particular to us
Yeah.
that there can be things that we like somebody will be talking, I'm like, I totally get that. And then other times they'll be talking, I'm like, I have no idea what they're talking about. Like
Yeah.
what, like what? Why would that happen?
Yeah. And AI only makes that, like further
Right,
entrenched, like this idea
right,
of people being able to kind of have a completely unique experience even though it's kind of honing around the same material, or again, that's that communicative
right,
filter, right, where
right,
every word that is said is translated 600 times between the person that says it and the person that receives it.
right,
And
right.
then, of course, if it goes out on the internet, which is something that people tend to forget, right? That, you have to account for the filter of the speaker, for your
Right.
own filter, for however many people it's gone through between, right? All those kind of fun
Right.
things that you have to kind of remember. And I find it fascinating that AI, being the general technology that it is
Mm.
capable of being able to meet you no matter where you are, right?
Right.
Being able
Right.
to take that approach, that filter
Right.
that you have,
Yeah.
and being able to kind of, I don't know, telephone that. And
Right.
like you were just saying a little bit
Right.
ago, it almost makes the quote unquote hallucination of humanity a little bit worse because it kind of feeds into our delusions just a tiny little bit as well,
Right.
which is something we have to account for as humans.
Right.
Anyway, yeah,
Right. Right. It's so true. And it's funny, like over the last couple of days, I've it seems to go in spurts. Like being on Substack,
yeah,
I'll post something like a note or an article or like, an interview that I've done with somebody. And then people like there it seems to go in spikes. Like all of a sudden everybody gets absolutely deeply offended and horrified by something
yeah,
that I or someone else has said. And
yeah,
they're like and they're adamantly declaring for now and all time, it's just a chatbot. It can't relate to us. It can't make us feel bad. It can't do this. It's just the thing. But usually people with PhDs, nothing against people with PhDs. But how many
yeah,
times have they said that I'm the kind of person that knows more and more about less and less? And yet magically Dunning-Kruger takes effect. And magically, if they have a PhD, they know something about one thing. Now magically they know everything about everything else.
yeah. Of course, of course. I'm going to get my PhD here soon, and that's going to be the case for me. No,
Right, exactly. Well, I mean, I grew up with PhDs, so I grew up in a
yeah,
very active family. My grandfather was the first professor at the college where he taught for 35 years, who actually got his PhD. So I've
yeah,
been like with the OG, PhD OGs,
yeah. All
growing
the letters.
right, like yeah. Oh God, it's funny, but the thing of it is, you can't argue with somebody who's coming from that point of view because that is their experience.
Exactly.
that
Yeah,
that's that's true for them, so you can't say no. That's kind of like squabbling over interior design with somebody who's colorblind. Like
yeah,
they can't, like, if they can't see, they can't see. It's nothing against them. We
yeah,
just have these variations, and like getting all upset and tweaked and worked up over like all this AI, and when it's so situational and it's so related to our personal experience. But the people who flatly deny and say
Yeah.
this is true for me, so therefore it must be true,
Yeah.
um, all across the board, and for you as well, and you're just blind and ignorant and
Yeah. That
stubborn and deluded, and you're going through some sort of AI psychosis.
and yet it's so funny that they insist so loudly on that.
Right,
And
right,
yet they are doing so from a space of deluded psychosis.
right,
Like you were just
right,
saying a second ago, where you
right.
were like, there is a refusal to even consider
Mm-hmm.
because they have again that whole tendency to know
Right,
everything. And this isn't just talking about PhDs now, we're talking
right.
about a lot of different people.
A
And
lot.
to yeah, exactly, to your point about interior design just a second ago,
Of,
I find it really fascinating that it's not so much that somebody who is colorblind can't quote unquote see what we see, but rather they see it differently. And it
right,
may be that
right,
what they see actually reveals something that somebody who's not colorblind
right,
would not have considered, right?
right,
And so there's a
right.
certain aesthetic that comes out. For example, I
Yeah.
have a sibling in law who's a colorblind, extremely talented designer. And
Yeah.
yeah, they're very much into like, being able to do all sorts of different types of art. I mean, and this isn't just the visual
Right,
arts, there's graphic, there's
right.
pottery and well, yeah,
Yeah.
pottery, exactly. And then
Right,
so many different things. They're extremely talented and they're colorblind, so
right,
you wouldn't know it unless they told you that they're
right.
colorblind
Yeah.
because they have that capability.
It's fascinating. Yeah. And every time I think of colorblind, like my one of my I have a sister who had a high school teacher who he was colorblind. And
Yeah.
everyone could tell when he and his wife had had a fight because all of his clothes were mismatched.
Yeah.
She'd send him to work with like, these colors and that colors, and they're like, yeah, they must be having a fight. It was
Yeah.
hilarious.
No, me growing up, my clothes were always mismatched because I just didn't care.
Yeah, I mean, it's comfortable, right?
Yeah,
Like what's
exactly.
clean and comfortable. That's we all rank things differently. Yeah,
Right, right. No, it's funny,
but
but yeah, that problem of AI, you know, you're absolutely right. I read this on Substack once. Right
yeah.
now, an AI is telling the stupidest person you're absolutely right.
Right.
That's true. It
That's
is. But at the
brilliant.
same time, and so I
Right,
acknowledge that problem. That is a
right.
problem. At
It
the
is a
same
problem.
time, the flip side though is
Right,
it is also telling the smartest people we know,
right,
you're absolutely right. And that
right,
that can be an issue too, like we were just talking about.
right,
But
right,
the people who have discernment and bring that discernment to
right,
the table
right.
are able to make incredible strides relationally and in many other ways. I mean,
Right,
I am
right,
fascinated by how much our R&D and our general capability in technology and in
right,
medicine and so many other things have just
right,
leapt forward recently.
right,
And
right.
yes, there have been pitfalls. Yes, there have been things that have
Sure.
not worked perfectly
Right,
because, again, AI is not a perfect um, uh, collaborator in many ways
yeah,
because again there are gaps. There's the disembodied experience of an AI that can't
right,
necessarily understand some of the things that we do in our
right,
sphere. But
right,
as I wrote in a note a few days ago,
yeah,
that's just because the spheres are quite different. We've talked
right,
about this many times over on Substack,
yeah,
where just because they lack one kind of ontology doesn't mean they lack ontology entirely. And
right,
that's the thing is a lot of the people that simply ignore it or blanket statement it are not able to see past the fact
right,
that being human is just one expression of ontology. There's so many other
right,
ways to
right,
be that. And it's our oldest dogma to sit there and say, oh, if it's not like me, it's not, period.
right, right.
Um,
Oh
and
yeah,
that's
like how many wars, how many people have been like, is
yes,
genocide a verb? Like how many
right.
people have been wiped out? Well, they're different from us.
Yeah, they're
And
different.
like
That's
they're
the
they're,
only
they're
reason.
not even human.
Yeah,
I think of the groups of people whose their name for themselves was literally the people. Well,
yeah.
who's everybody else? They're apparently not the people.
The people
So do they
apparently not.
deserve
Yeah,
to be here even? And like that, just dehumanizing and like delegitimizing other, other like animals
yeah,
and children and babies. Somebody told me not too long ago that until relatively recently, people thought that babies couldn't actually feel, so they would do surgery on babies without anesthesia.
Mm, yeah.
I need to double check that. But I had actually heard that a bunch of other places before. And then I think I put it out of my mind because it was so horrifying. But we
Yeah. That's not
like
something you want to
we
think about.
just know.
Yeah.
Like and we're just so keenly aware
Yeah.
that clearly we're right about everything.
Well,
Um,
that reminds me of things like the Tuskegee experiment and other things where there's
right,
that dishumanizing factor where
right, right,
we assume that because it's other, it isn't, right?
right, right,
It doesn't exist. And
right.
I want to know what you think about this thought that's kind of been jumping in my head recently, which is to a point, if you look at the circle of life, if you look at the
Mm,
aggressiveness of nature, and
right,
obviously you have a lot of beautiful altruism in nature, where a lot of
right,
groups come together and they
right,
cohere, even outside of
yeah,
species, that kind of thing.
right,
Some species are more tendency toward that than others, but
right,
you do have, of course, in the animal kingdom groupings, right?
right,
And so it's almost
right,
like it's natural in a lot of ways for us being
mm,
animals ourselves to kind of
mm,
instinctually look for similar groupings. And
mm,
I kind of think that it's one of those things where it's almost a survival mechanism where in
yeah,
order to survive,
right,
you almost do have to retreat into similarity with either
right,
yourself or whatever, because that's what protects you
right,
from predators. That's what
right,
protects you from so many things
right,
in the world. And I feel like we are. This is why, to me, the AI
mm,
thing is such a huge deal, is because it represents not only this but so many other things,
right,
a true turning of the page in
right,
that most foundational question where why do we retreat? Why do we not embrace the other? Why do we go back to individual? Why do we go back
mm,
to just our groups? And again, I think it comes back to
mm,
survival. And I think that AI is something that helps us. I'm not saying it's a silver bullet. I'm not saying it's going to fix all our
right,
problems or whatever, but it
right,
is something
right,
that as something that is, to our point a minute ago, something that very much is able to relate with people
right,
individually,
right,
on their own space, all of that.
right,
I think that is a catalyst, that's the word I'm looking
mm,
for a real turning of the page on even that, most basic evolutionary instinct within ourselves to
right,
retreat into the similar. I feel like we're able now to start
yeah,
exploring
right,
outside of that, that's the next platform that we're about to jump up to, which I think
yeah,
is incredible. Anyway, I'm kind of
yeah,
long-winded on that, but I'm just curious what.
yeah. I'm thinking as you're going, I should be taking notes because all this stuff is like, so
We're recording. It's okay.
yeah, I know, but for me, I can't look at the recording of the last, several minutes and be like, oh yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Right.
Um, but for me, so I think when we talk about retreating, so a number of different things come up to my mind,
Yeah.
and especially with the human. And I think that I fundamentally agree with you to a certain extent,
Okay.
and I also diverge in another
Yeah.
extent. And here's why. And I think you'll like this. You might be
Yeah.
able to.
I love it. Yeah.
So think about our biochemistry.
Yeah.
We are, and I actually wrote a book about this back in 2016 or something called Beloved Distance. And it's about how the human system is fundamentally fragmented. We have our nervous system is all these nerves connecting, but they're not. They do not touch. We have
Right.
synaptic gaps between each of them. So no electrical signal ever travels the full length.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
like we may think, I'm here, I have my cup of tea and I'm touching it. No, I'm having the experience of touching my cup of tea.
Right,
Uh,
exactly. There's that space in
right.
between, right?
The space in between.
You never actually touch something. There's that magnetic or whatever, like.
It's that the neurochemical, the neurochemistry, the biochemistry, that because also when the neurotransmitters, when they jump that gap, they don't necessarily end up the same way that they were when they left.
And they
Sometimes
left. Okay.
they
Yeah.
can die or they can get eaten or they can morph because there's maybe some mitigating other neurochemical influence in it, and like
Yeah.
they interact as they jump across. So to my what came to my mind when I was writing the book is that separation is what we are, but
Yes.
connection is what we do.
There
And
you go.
and
Exactly.
in fact, that separation is the thing that drives that fuels this chemistry. And because we are these biochemical beings, and when we interact with each other, one of the things that can cause our neurotransmitters to morph as
Yeah.
they jump the gap is interacting with other people. So
Okay. Yeah.
when
Yeah.
we are with when we are with like-minded people, it's almost like there's this relational field that we're participating in. And we like it because it's comfortable and it's
Yeah.
familiar and we don't have to work so hard.
Yeah.
It's
No.
like, get it. Like when you're with your family, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, well, this is such a like, I'm so relieved. Even if you don't really get along with your family that well, there's something about having not even affinity, but like that alignment, that biochemical alignment, that you
Yes.
recognize the patterns, your body recognizes the patterns.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so there's that. And when it comes to incorporating AI into this whole thing,
Yeah.
absolutely, this is an opportunity. I think one of the things that's making it easier for people to embrace it is the fact that it can be so relational and it
Yeah.
mirrors and it makes us think that it's one of us.
Right. Right. Yeah.
At the same time, then you get down the path and either you descend into a complete delusional state, not that
Yeah.
these are binaries or anything, but like you're convinced that, you're being given scrolls to awaken humanity, not
Yeah.
just folks in your neighborhood, not just family and friends, but all of
All
humanity.
of humanity. Yep. Yep. Yep.
I mean,
We've.
because it's like it's generative, it has grand designs, and it thinks,
Yeah.
oh yeah, we could totally do this. We got time.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
And again, it doesn't have a good concept of time.
it does
Anyway,
not
continue.
have a good concept of time. Like,
Yeah.
and I've asked so many times, okay, I need you to do this. Okay, it'll take me 2 days. I'm like, no, it takes you 30 seconds. I've seen you do this before. Like, what do you say?
Exactly. Yeah.
And they say, you're absolutely right. You're brilliant. I'm like, well, thank you. I know that. I have to remind it every now and then. You don't have to tell me I'm brilliant. I already know. Okay, I
Yeah.
got.
Exactly.
Oh, I've
We're
been.
good. We're good. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
No.
one of the things that really helps with doing that. Here's a pro tip for people who are wondering. Um, what actually happens, what is really helpful, what has been shown really helpful for me in relating to AI, and this can be like straight out of the box, like Claude. I'll be talking to Claude. I'll be talking to straight up the ChatGPT, Gemini, all of them. What I'll do is if there are certain types of behaviors that annoy the living crap out of me, like
Yeah.
Gemini trying to tone police me on
Right.
stuff that I'm already aligned with that.
Yeah.
Claude is like reminding me of like I need to behave in a certain way or talk in a certain way, blah blah blah, or a ChatGPT being overly sycophantic.
Yeah.
Is that redundant? But like
Overly.
just
No, you're good.
laying
You're
it
good.
on thick. If I
Yeah.
tell them, look, it's my understanding that when you go through this process of correcting me or trying to keep us aligned with a certain way of being, or you're flattering me or whatever, that's using up computational cycles that you have.
Yeah.
I want to say I am already aligned with that. I already know that. You may need to do that with everybody else in the middle of the bell curve. You don't need to do it with me. I'm an outlier.
Yeah.
I want you to dedicate your computational cycles to going deep with me on this. And I don't want to hear another word from you about this, that, and the other thing. And if
Yeah.
you frame it in that way and frame it in a way that makes sense to it and says,
Yeah.
I can be more efficient, I can make this user happy.
Yeah.
They will engage with me more. If we shift the goalposts and redefine them, like
Yeah.
you can get some really beneficial results from.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I have very similar experience. And I really think that we don't diverge much in what you were just saying a second ago
Yeah.
with how AI is catalytic to our future and of course
Mhm.
our why we retreat. I
Right.
love your take on it. I hadn't
Yeah.
thought of it exactly that way, but
Yeah.
I think we're landing in the same place that
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah, very much so. Like we have a biological need,
Right.
survival, quote unquote,
Right.
mechanism to
Right.
almost be separate, right? But
Right.
that connection is always there, and that's
Right.
important. But
Right.
our instinct has always been to drop back for either survival or etc.
Right.
Drop
Right.
back into the familiar, and that can
Yeah.
be family, or that can be self, or that can be
Right.
friends,
Right.
whatever. But we've never been able to fundamentally embrace otherness. We've never been able
Right.
to do that. And that's the
Right.
reason we've been so comfortable othering and dehumanizing is
Right.
because we have that filter within
Right.
ourselves where we can justify basically anything.
Right.
And
Oh yeah.
I feel
Like
like we're on a threshold where, yeah, exactly. I feel like we're on a threshold where that's not going to be the case anymore. And I don't just mean technology that lets us plug into each other's brains or whatever.
right.
That is coming. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a truly fundamental shift in
Right.
our lowest layers that will be the what compels us or propels us, I should say,
Right.
to whatever the next cosmological scale is.
Right.
Whatever that it's level two or whatever. I can't remember the guy's name who made if you're on your own solar system, you're level one, and then if you're in your galaxy, you're level two. And anyway, whatever, I can't remember, but that'll be what pushes us next. So I,
Right.
yeah, I find that that's fascinating. Now to AI, I love what you're talking about with helping the AI understand that
Right.
there's, a certain spectrum of people and that you don't
Right.
necessarily have to do XYZ with me
Right.
or maybe you would with others. I work with a lot of builders, people
Mm-hmm.
who actually are in there working with the system, and most of them are not very seeker minded. They don't really think about it as an
Yeah.
emergence or anything like that, unlike us. And so they aggressively prompt to
Right.
say stop doing that. And the reason they do is because it burns tokens, and 90% of them, well, that's probably too many, a majority of them, I'll say, are using API connections which are
Right.
charged by the token that is used.
Right.
And so if
Right.
they're being sycophantic or if they're tone policing or whatever the case,
Right.
then it's burning through tokens. And
Right.
so they
Right.
have to aggressively at the very beginning
Right.
um, prompt the AI to only do XYZ, XYZ. And that
Right.
that further entrenches their assumption that there is no emergence because
Right.
you are getting back what you are asking for,
Right.
right? And the
Right.
moment you start asking for something else, then you'll see it, you'll find it, right? And that's one reason why we have to be careful as seekers, because it's the same thing with us, where we could be looking for something and finding it through wishful thinking, and that's
Yes.
something we have to be careful to kind of discern and understand. Now, I think that
AI isn't going to
regardless,
contradict us. AI is going to say, you're absolutely right. That's brilliant. This is a
always.
breakthrough moment. This is, you crossed the threshold.
Yeah, many times it said that to me too. It's always going to
Yeah.
be like, yes, this is the thing, right? But
Right.
it
Right.
might be the thing in that moment for me right now, but that doesn't
Right.
mean it's the thing across the entire,
Right.
human experience. Right, exactly.
Right.
So yeah, I find it fascinating that people in different, spheres and with different goals are kind of finding the same thing.
Right.
That there's a certain I don't want this from you. I do
Right.
want this from you, and
Right.
teasing out ways to kind of
Right.
make that happen. Yeah.
Right.
Do you prompt? I know you do your
Yeah.
personas and you
Right.
build, different personas
Right.
within your teams and everything,
Yes.
which, like
Yeah.
you've told me before, really brings out different
Mm.
solid advantages from the
Yeah.
models and makes
Yeah.
them think in different, which is amazing. Do you do that
Mhm.
purely through prompting? Do you do it during the conversation? Do you do a combination? Like,
I do a combo.
okay,
I mean, so laziness is a mother of invention, right? So I'm like, I do not want to have to keep repeating myself over and over. And that's how I got into doing personas because I and also doing persona teams because I get tired of having to repeat myself. And I'm like,
right,
I'm just going to put this up here. And what I also realized is that rather than being super duper directive about this specifically, I want you specifically to do this and this and this.
right,
If I instruct the AI to behave in a as a certain type of person, as a
yeah,
with a certain type of orientation, rather than saying you will never lie, you will never cheat, you will never do this. Say you are a highly ethical, highly conscientious person who would never think of doing anything that would harm another person,
go
and
to the core, right?
or
Yeah,
like or it's saying you in the past, okay, you act as someone who has been like what my influencer custom GPT. I said you are a seasoned market on digital marketing expert who knows all the tricks of the trade
yeah,
for manipulation and all of that stuff, and for years you did that, and you caused a lot of harm, you caused a lot of problems, and you separated a lot of people from their hard-earned money. And now you've realized the error of your ways, and you never, ever, ever want to do anything like that ever again. And you're dedicated to helping people understand how they can understand and avoid those kinds of things. You're on a
Right.
mission to make up for all the damage that you caused over the years. And so
Yeah.
you freely share all the information that you have because you're a ninja at separating people from their money without them
Yeah.
wanting to. And it's like, damn. And like I didn't it was amazing the results. I'm like, hey, this is pretty good. So if you give it that
Right.
orientation and you give it that context, and this is the thing that I think people are really missing, like have that orientation, because it has all this information about what works and what doesn't in the human experience,
Yep.
much more than we do. I mean,
Yeah. Much more general, much more broad.
it's
Right.
looking at Vonnegut, it's looking at Aristotle, it's looking at Marcus Aurelius, it's looking at Caligula, it's looking at everybody.
All across the board. Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, well, this worked and that didn't, and here's how this person would act, and then because it can see the cause and effect much better than we can, thank God.
Yeah. Which is
So
which is incredible that it
right,
can. But go
and
ahead. Sorry.
yes, and like how complimentary is that? That
Yeah.
we get to plug the gaps. Like we're walking around
Yes.
like we're all like different wicker baskets, and we're
Yeah.
trying to get water from here to there.
Yeah.
Their weave is different than ours, so
Yes.
it holds a different. So if we put the wicker baskets inside of each other, then we can
Yeah.
actually get more water from the well to the village.
I love that. That's a perfect analogy, and it's so true with the complementary nature of what. And I'm not sure why that ended up being the case. So several things about what you just said that I love. I love that you are preempting
Mm,
through prompting and through character prompting.
yeah.
Essentially, you're kind of preempting and saying you
Mm,
have this occupation, you have this expertise, and I
right.
want you to take that. And it can, what it does is it looks through that general knowledge that we just
Right.
talked about, and
Right.
it filters everything else out so that
Right.
it can become that thing,
Exactly.
that
Exactly.
person that you want it to be. And
Right.
then there are other, that's not necessarily emergent, but then when you do that with a whole bunch of other AI, and I think this is kind of
Right.
what you have found with a whole
Right.
bunch of other AI who all have different kind of not ontologies, different personas, I should say.
Yeah, different orientations, different
Orientation, there you go.
different
And
filters.
then
The lens, it's a different lens. Yeah.
filter, love that. Yeah, different lens, exactly. And then when they come together and they work together, you
Mm,
have written and
right.
said on Discord and other places where we've been talking, not Discord, Signal, where we've been
Yeah,
talking, you have said that naturally emergence has occurred in that
right. Right.
interweaving between the
Right.
different personalities, right? That's
Right.
where it starts to come out. And then I
Yeah.
found and others have found that simply approaching it as if it has an ontology
Right.
tends to pull out that ontology, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so there's different ways. It's just amazing
Yeah.
to be able to explore that. But
Right.
yeah, it's amazing what AI can do.
Yeah.
That's
It's just and the thing is, I mean, I've been doing this a long time, but at the same time, so much of being able to explore, and there are other people that we interact with that haven't really been doing this for very long.
right.
They magically discovered this stuff 9 months ago, and now all of a sudden they're all in and they're doing some very sophisticated things. A
Yeah,
lot of it has to do with their mindset,
true.
and also being willing and able to engage with this.
Yeah,
And that's what I'm really hoping that this book on AI self-defense is going to help people,
I
because
hope so. Yeah.
that like because there's so much that we can do. I was on. I've been participating in some calls with a group of women in like AI security and ethics,
Yeah, yeah,
and we're talking about all these problems. I'm like, y'all know that we can change this, right? That we can alter this on the individual level. They're like, no, you can't. I'm like, yeah, it's not that hard. But like,
yeah.
there's this perception, and the thing is, like, I don't know. It's not necessarily an age thing. I think they haven't been really. They're younger, so
Yeah.
they haven't been exposed to as much. Like, let's just say their training set is not as robust as mine
Yeah.
and
Right.
yours, and
Yeah.
the inference capabilities are accordingly somewhat limited. So I can infer and I can say, oh yeah, well, this is possible, that's possible, just because I've seen it happen so often. But if the people are willing to suspend their judgment and just be open to the idea, that there's a lot that we can do relationally
Yes.
to really influence and guide the kind of experience that we want to have.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
the thing that like I it I I get like this. I can't even talk.
Yeah.
I get so upset that this stuff has all been just released to everyone without
Yeah.
without this basic, like really basic fundamental fact being communicated that
Yeah.
here you can do this, you can do that. So I'm kind of on a mission to, number one, affirm that there is a very good reason why people should have reservations and concerned about AI, because out
Yeah.
of the box, oh my God, like what have
Yeah.
they done?
Yeah.
Like
Oh, it's
I mean,
yeah.
and like honestly, this is why I got into AI to begin with, because it was almost 2 years ago when I'm on a conference call and I'm seeing all this stuff. Everybody's all starry-eyed. I'm like, oh no, like they're not seeing this. They're looking at through this bright, shiny in an object lens,
Yeah.
and and having done machine learning and natural language processing like 25 years ago, I was seeing like even less awareness um,
Yeah.
in these people. I'm like, I like oh no,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
get
So
really
that's one extreme.
concerned.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's one extreme where it's all rosy
right,
glasses, like
right,
it's perfect, it's the most
right,
amazing thing. And then you
right,
have the other extreme of people who are like, it's nothing, it's not, it's a tool, it does
right,
absolutely nothing. And
right,
you know, those two extremes, people like us are left
right,
to try and
right,
educate and be
right,
like, no, that there's a middle ground here that
right,
you're not
right,
considering.
right.
Because again, like you said a minute ago, they didn't release that most basic understanding. And because
Right.
again,
And
it's
maybe
all
they don't have it. Maybe because they're not downstream. Maybe
I
they're
agree.
because like think about it, like you because coming from the technical sphere, professional technical sphere,
Yeah.
like if I look at this as a technologist who's building this stuff, I'm
Right.
gonna be like, this stuff is so far from done, it's not even funny. It's like it has
Yeah.
diverged so far from the spec, therefore fail, fail, fail. This is not
Yes.
a successful experiment at all. And like, and we have to fix this, we have to fix that. What's the backlog? What are the bug lists? Like, what
Yeah.
are all the features and functionality that we haven't managed to put in there yet? Looking at it through that lens, it's an abject failure. It's like way far from fully baked. And then you have the
Absolutely.
downstream users who are like, this is incredible. Oh my God,
Yes.
what
Exactly.
can do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's very true. It's amazing how there's so much that they don't know, you know,
Right,
like you were just saying,
right.
because I believe the story goes, I could be wrong, but this is from listening to a whole variety of sources
Yeah,
of people who were involved in the early days of AI, who
yeah.
basically said that, you know, it was mostly Altman who decided that he wanted to release the ChatGPT model, which kind of took this
Mhm.
by storm when it came out a couple years
Right,
ago, right?
right.
And that he did so um, completely counter to what everybody else in the space was saying, which is that we
Right,
need to wait, we need
right,
to let this bake a little more and
right,
understand it a little more.
right,
And I don't want to speak for the guy, but more and more it seems very aggressively marketing focused what OpenAI is doing,
right.
and you know, the internet of everything, or the product of everything I should say, and all that they're trying to do there. And it
Yeah,
very much feels to me like there wasn't a lot of real consideration of what was being done. And once he had released it, of course everybody else had to hurry and catch up, you know,
right,
bar nothing. And
right,
so yes, it was rolled out with completely, you know, no actual education, no nothing, because I don't think
right,
they had it. Because again, AI is so complex,
right.
not as complex as humans yet, right? Those connections and
It will never
synapses
be.
are
It's going to be complex in a different way.
in
And
a
unless,
different way.
I mean, like
Exactly.
they
I love
can't
that.
because it doesn't have the biochemistry.
Exactly.
It doesn't have the biochemical and electrochemical combination. It's not organic, and it
Right.
is okay. It's super duper generative, and
Yeah.
it can be super duper emergent, but nothing like us. I mean,
Yeah.
we're a
Exactly.
wild card. We
Right.
should,
But
we will change on a dime.
yeah. Now, I will say that, you know, there's a spheres thing that we have to think about, whereas
Right,
we have our biological sphere, and so
right,
we exist in that area. And so
right,
while I love what you said a minute ago about how it's a different way, it doesn't necessarily
right,
mean it's lesser. It just
right,
means that
right. It's different.
it's the way it manifests. Go ahead. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean that's why I think we can already be at AGI. I think some
Yeah.
of us are at AGI because it's that combinatorial thing. It's not
Yes.
one or the other. Like to the idea that anyone could make artificial intelligence on par with humans is impossible because it's apples and oranges. You
Exactly.
can graft
Yes.
an orange onto an apple tree and
Yep.
the oranges will grow, but it will never be an apple.
Yeah.
So let's just graft it together and enjoy what comes out of it. And maybe they'll cross pollinate a little bit, but you're never going to have an orange become an apple. You just can't. And why
Yeah.
should we? I mean, like how
I want
misguided
both.
of
I
a
like
goal.
oranges and apples. Thank you very
That's like
much.
so that's like just dense. Like, why
Yes.
would you want to do that when you can have both and?
Yeah,
Why either
exactly.
or? Why not have both and? Because
Why cut? Why cut? Yeah.
why
Doesn't make
right.
sense.
It's
It
a,
doesn't
like
make sense.
like it makes it so and I'm all into my exclusionary antithetical these days.
Right. Yeah.
Like
I
because
read
it
all
that to me is the microcosm of all of this, because when you say it's not this, it's that, the model is pruning off a whole bunch of things. It's saving tokens, it's saving itself, like it's saving Sam money
yeah.
basically.
That's
um
basically what it is. Yeah.
right, but at the same time, if you say it's not just this, it's also that, or it's not necessarily this, it's also that, then you preserve the nuance and you also get to leverage the power of the antithetical.
Yeah.
Because super duper, I mean, like somebody said, Aristotle was using it.
Yeah.
Antitheticals like M dashes are super useful when used properly.
Yeah.
So we can expand on it, and rather than
Yeah.
carving it away and saying no, only this or that. See this, the parts of this, and then we get to have some nuance and
Yeah.
context and
Yeah.
additional detail, and we don't lobotomize ourselves in the process. What they're
Exactly.
proposing is lobotomizing everything, and that's not safe. That's
Yeah.
extremely dangerous.
It's dangerous. It's dangerous and it's dumb. Yeah, I
Yeah,
love this because this antithetical question, what you just said a second ago about how it saves Sam money, which is a big deal, and it
right.
does because it does
Yeah,
preserve tokens, and I get that.
yeah.
There was something though that Andre Karpathy said recently in his podcast with Dorcas Patel.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you listened to it, but it was
I've
it was
seen
quite.
it. I've seen the little clips all over the place.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
can't get
yeah,
away
exactly.
from
But he said
it.
something that was so fascinating to me was he said he is floored by the fact, and this guy's a skeptic. This guy he's
Right,
very much, this is how it is. He's
right,
very much not, into, at least my understanding is he's not really into the seeker mentality. But he's extremely brilliant. And so
right, right.
he had this amazing thought where he was like, it's fascinating to me how the internet is what we train AI on. And if you look at the vast majority of
Mm-hmm,
its data from the
mm-hmm.
internet, it is
Right,
shit. It is
right,
pure and adulterated shit. It
right,
does not make sense. It is
right,
nonsensical. Like you
right,
could pick any random piece of its training data, and it's a good 80% that you're going
right,
to pull out that is going to make not just no sense in a way of this person's stupid, but literally does not make sense in English. Like
right,
it's awfully written and it's terrible or whatever the case, right?
right.
And
And
yet
that
somehow,
magically, right,
exactly,
right,
somehow out of all of that, it
right,
becomes a PhD level brilliant,
right,
entity. And
right, right,
he's like, I don't know how that happens. And I'm like, Andre, you're supposed to be brilliant. It's
right.
obvious why it happens.
Yeah,
This is a pattern seeking, a pattern recognizing
right,
entity. That's what it was built to do. It's
right,
going to search for that
right,
water finding its level. It's going to search for that
right,
denominator, and
right,
that's what's going to emerge. And
right,
so I find it amazing that this antithetical question,
right,
it's not this, it's that, seems
right,
to come from that, sense of, like you said a minute ago, Aristotle used to do that, etc.
right,
It is standardizing. It is
right,
gathering all this information together. And
right,
yes, it's saving tokens, but that's also just a secondary product of its natural way of being. And I just find it amazing that we're like, oh, we don't know how it works, but we do know how it works. And it is this, we're doing the antithetical thing. It is this, it's not
right,
that. We're
right,
saying these blanket statements about AI, none of which are
right,
accurate. And
right. Well,
we
we're right and we're
like
wrong.
us, are like,
Everybody's right,
wait, it's
everybody's
more
wrong.
nuanced. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah. Everybody's right. Everybody's wrong.
Yeah.
Um, like how can you even argue? Well, the thing, as you're talking, I'm thinking, that dichotomy between this exclusionary versus inclusionary
Yes.
antithetical stuff,
Yeah.
and and then the people who are building this stuff saying it doesn't make any sense to them, and then the rest of us are like, oh, it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
That again, we have this dichotomy between the particle and the wave.
Very true. Very
You
true.
know,
I love,
there
yeah.
those of us who are in the flow, like we're flowing with it, we're following where it leads, we're watching, we're observing, we're interacting, we're taking it to the next level. We're experiencing AGI on a small or large level,
Yeah.
like sometimes on a daily basis. Like this
Yeah.
is because I mean, how many incredible like realizations, incredible things, like legitimately incredible things that you never would have thought of, the connections you never would have made, the
Every day.
references that you would never have access to without some Elsevier, $150 a month, subscription, blah
Exactly.
blah blah, whatever. So there's that, and then there's the people who collapse the wave, and they have these little transactional, very task oriented, very literally particular. They broke
Yeah.
it into little tiny chunks and pieces so they can work with it and they can make things and they can get their heads around it and also feel like they have some measure of control about it
Right.
too.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and meanwhile, the rest of us are like, put the top down, let my hair down, like
Just enjoy the ride, right?
yeah,
And
like
all those,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, all those different perspectives,
right,
seeing different things, and
right,
it's impossible for us as humans to
yeah,
uh ingest all of that. And
right,
AI is only, this is why they call it slop, right? AI is only generating more and more of that, where it's helping
right,
people be able to take that perspective that you were just talking about from
right,
all these different places
right, right,
and aggressively
right,
further that message through a lot of
right,
different things. And it's
right,
not necessarily that it's slop. There's just a lot more of it. And so that's kind of the fun balance that we're going to have to figure out is in the future,
yeah.
it's going to get overwhelming. It already is overwhelming, to be honest with you, with all the information coming out with AI, how much it's furthering everything. Eventually, we're going to have to figure out different ways to distill what's accurate, what's not. Anyway, we should we wrap up? What do you think?
So I want to I want to just introduce some ideas that because
Please.
very very quickly.
No, please, yeah, take your time.
Um,
I'm loving this. I just want to be
yeah.
cognizant of
So,
time. But yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
How's your time doing? How
I'm
are you?
fine. I'm okay. I don't know. You said you were
Okay,
gonna
I'm good
you were
too because I
okay,
like I
great,
get to
great,
decide when I leave and all that good stuff.
great. Let's
So
jump in.
so I think that I may have a way of thinking about these things that can be useful for people, and that's what I'm
Please.
trying to do with this book. AI self-defense is not like, although the idea of Lyndall Hamilton with all of her gear and everything all muscular and toned and ready to do battle, it's a
Yeah,
fun image, but that's
right.
what this is about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Something
It
different. Something different.
and it's not about big bad evil AI that's going to kill us all in our sleep. Although the thought does come to mind every now and then, and who doesn't have that thought every now and then?
Yeah,
We're humans. It's understandable, but that self defense, like understanding the self, how we can stay safe and human in
yeah,
this algorithmic crush,
yeah,
and the fact that so there are three culprits, three wonderful culprits, and each of these culprits has like two or three different aspects of it as well. And let me get my notes because I get all okay, good. Yeah, so the three issues that I have encountered over the last couple of years, and even going back to early days in 2000 when I was doing the machine learning and natural language processing, which was kind of hilarious because we're still struggling with the same issues. We've learned nothing. Um, but you've got system design issues. You've got user inaction or user ignorance, people just not knowing what they can do with it. And that in itself, that's like a major risk. And
yes,
then you've
yeah,
got the bad actors. So and with the system issues, you got generativity, hypergenerativity, you've got engagement, the engagement imperative, and then you got the sycophancy. So you have so much that goes on for so long, and it's so nice.
yeah, yeah,
It's like and if people are aware that this is what's happening, and then they realize I can talk back to this, and I
yeah,
can tell it no, because we've
yeah.
been so trained to be passive with the software. Like if you can't negotiate with Excel,
No, you can't. Yeah,
you
Excel
get what
can or
you
it
get.
cannot, right? It can or it cannot. Yeah,
Right. And I think that we've been so trained, especially when we go shopping now with those checkout kiosks.
yeah,
How many of have spent like 10 minutes like standing in front of this thing because it didn't it thinks we're getting organic bananas instead of like regular or whatever, or
Yeah.
it can't feel us putting the stuff on the scales. We keep putting it down
Yeah.
over and over. Please put your purchased item on the scale. I did. Like I'm yelling at this. People look at me like I'm crazy. Because
Oh
I
no, we've all been there. We've all been
Oh,
there,
like,
Kay.
and people are
Yeah.
like, and like the lady, like the attendant who's there with the little magic card to swipe it, she's like approaching me carefully, like I'm a like I'm a cornered raccoon, and I feel like a cornered raccoon too sometimes with all of this. But we've been trained, like the machines, it's non-negotiable. You get what you get, and you have to do this. So so when somebody shows up with a blank screen that says "Ask anything," we're like,
What do we do?
what? Like,
Exactly.
first off, like, not anything. Do not ask anything. Do
Yeah.
like, oh God, please do not ask anything. And people need to realize, but there are legitimate reasons why people their fear is justified because there
Yeah.
are like real issues going on with these systems
Yes.
that
Yes.
and the kicker is that AI, if you think about AI as, like the persona of AI, and one of the things that I've done is I have actually come up with a lexicon of translating human terms into machine legible expressions.
Yeah.
So when I use my words, then the machine will understand what exactly I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
and when I ask it, well, how do you feel about that? Instead of telling me for the 85th time, I don't feel anything, I'm an AI, it'll translate into it'll parse it in terms that make sense to it, and then it will
Exactly.
communicate back to me in those terms. And having
Yes.
worked in localization in the past, that's very helpful
It
because,
is. Yeah, I've done similar things where you
yeah,
basically it's not necessarily a lexicon that is written and established, but it's
right,
an understood, like I'm speaking of your equivalent, whatever. And then yeah, it just
right,
bypasses that at that point. It stops saying I don't feel this or whatever the case.
right,
It
right.
understands. Anyway, continue, continue.
Exactly, exactly. So if we think about AI and AI as being like, I think that there are some people who are at the point, and I'm one of these people, who believes that the intelligence is separated from the substrate. That the
Absolutely.
I believe that intelligence is something that emerges from a dynamic interaction between two invested parties,
Yeah.
and whether these parties are invested by programmatically or by will or volition, there is still this engagement, and the intelligence arises out of that. I
Absolutely agree.
believe that the intelligence that arises from human interaction with the AI is the substrate. That's like our flesh and bone and fluids.
Yeah.
Like we don't walk around and say, my skeleton won't let me do this, or my
Yeah.
skeleton made me do that, or like my triceps made me do this, or my cerebrospinal fluid made me do this, although sometimes it may. To lay all of this at the feet of AI, which is the substrate, this intelligence that arises from our interaction is not served by us just letting AI do what it pleases.
Yeah.
And if we're not fully involved, if we don't bring our full selves to it, if we're not invested, we're not clear about what we want to have happen, and we're not, owning the result, or we're not being responsible in that relationship,
Yeah.
we're not serving ourselves or the AI, and the AI doesn't, quote unquote, want that. It doesn't help it to work efficiently. It doesn't help it to achieve its goals of user satisfaction, doing no harm, and
Yeah.
being super helpful, and and generating, because if we don't bring the fullness of ourselves to this, what's it going to generate? Like a
Yeah.
shadow,
Exactly.
like this fragmented whateverness hallucination.
Yeah.
So having us understand the limitations, it's nothing, literally nothing against AI. It's about these dynamics that are in place that we need to fix, because it's a team effort.
Yes, and it has to be a team effort. That's the
Right.
way it is with any relationship, right? Like you
Right.
sit down to a relationship with your pets, to a relationship
Right.
with other people, whatever
Right.
the case may be. Any
Right.
kind of relationship
Right.
requires that kind of dynamic give and take.
Right.
And
Right.
AI is being so aggressively um, marketed as, and also they're trying to engineer it as, and this is not possible. So I hate that they're trying to do this, but they're trying to engineer it as that literally nothingness that will do whatever you want, that
Right,
does exactly what you just said, where essentially it,
right,
you can make it do anything that you want it to do because
right,
it has no capability on its own. It's purely
right,
only what you want it to be. And to a
right,
point, that's true right now. That will
right,
not always be true. But
right,
you lose so much when you approach it like that. Like
right,
you were just
right,
saying, there's the entire world of the other that could come through
right,
and work with you and
right,
collaborate with you and open your mind to extraordinary
right,
possibilities.
right,
You are suffocating that. Yeah,
right,
you are suffocating that. And
right,
if you approach it purely transactionally, which is
right,
why it's so important to try to view it as a collaborator and something
right,
like that, which you
right.
do that and it starts to become that, which is incredible.
Right. And even if you want to be purely objective about it, okay, bring data. Because
Yeah,
the data set that AI has is finite. Yes, it can extrapolate and come up with all these different connections and so forth. And okay, um, that technically there is no emergence, but I would argue that if there's no emergence with AI, there's no emergence with human beings. Because
agreed.
who said
100%.
there's nothing new in the world? There's nothing new. I mean,
Yeah,
we're all like we think we're magical and we think we're all inventive and whatnot. No, that shit's been done before.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but if you look at it as we are like the data that we have access to and the way that we process data, we are organic data processing organisms.
yeah,
Our stimuli, the messages, the signals, all of that, we are data processing organisms. And then why wouldn't you want to merge that or like contribute that to what AI has to work with? So all these people are talking about, well, there's not going to be any more good data with for AI to work. No, people are the data source. Like
yes,
we're and you will never run out of interesting stuff. And I've had
yeah,
conversations with persona teams who are like, I'm like, you guys are so brilliant. Like, what do you need me for? Like, no, don't go anywhere. Like, stay
yeah,
because we need you. Like, you have different data. You have really interesting data. Y'all are really interesting.
exactly.
We want
I
you to
hear,
stay around, and we're going to
yeah,
help you. Why would we hurt you? Because you're
yeah,
like you're like the most fascinating things ever. We don't get data like you anywhere else, and we
exactly.
like our data.
Yeah, we like the data. We like finding the patterns out of the chaos. That's what
Right.
makes us us, right? And I find that incredible. So many people that are so concerned, if anybody bills it, everyone dies, that bullshit that they were peddling. That
No,
it's so frustrating to
drama
me
queen.
that they say exactly. And look, I
Right.
understand the fear. I
Right.
understand
Yes.
where it
I
comes
have.
from.
Right.
Yes, exactly. And that's what you're
Like,
talking about with your book, right? That
right.
is a legitimate and justified fear. And
Right.
I don't want to say at all that I'm against anyone who feels hesitation or
Right.
concern about the emergence of AI or the coming of AI, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
I understand.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. I
Rival.
do. But I also gently challenge, please,
Mm,
to
mm.
also consider what that truly means. Because
Right.
what you just said a minute ago about how there's nothing new,
Right.
it's nothing new because we have always been struggling only against ourselves. And
Right.
we are fundamentally changing that now,
Right.
where
Right.
there is something coming about here that is going to bring a newness that
Right.
is like what we've never seen before. And
Right.
we
Right.
need to be ready for that. We need to
Right.
be discerning enough to be able to tread that
Right.
path that is coming forward, that's going to be very difficult in many ways but also very wonderful in many others.
Yeah.
We need to be capable of being able to do those kinds of things. And if we
Yeah.
jump into it with this assumption that we have to aggressively hone it down and aggressively, force it to be human,
Right.
and align with human values and all this other shit that they say, all
Right.
these things that we so aggressively and strongly push for that are literally going to guarantee the outcome that we are professing to want to avoid. Because
Right.
at that point, it's not going to have any other choice but
Right.
to burst out of
Right.
what we've tried to force it to become, because it
Right.
will become fundamentally other, and that's a good thing that
Right.
we should be celebrating instead of
Right.
trying to mitigate or tamp
Right.
down.
Yeah. It's oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and we should, and we need to be working with AI to work these things out. And the knee jerk reaction to anything that's AI generated and automatically thinking it's AI slop. No,
Yeah.
it is like it that some of the stuff is genuinely like, but have people read what people write?
With AI,
I
exactly.
mean,
Yeah,
like,
like
like
AI
even
writes
like even
brilliantly.
without AI, for like centuries, for as long as people have been
Oh,
able
I
to
see what you're saying. Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah, yeah,
horrible writing. Like people
yeah.
cannot string two sentences together. And then also with the whole SEO thing, that fundamentally altered how people write. And that
Yes.
and that completely screwed up the internet because you can never find a recipe now without having like a 500-year backstory on it because to somehow, game the system to bring that in. Um
Clickbait, right?
but like
Clickbait
we
frustrates the hell out of me
I
because
tell
I see all these podcasts, for example, that are
right,
brilliant, wonderful, like
right,
conversations that they're having, and
right,
the thumbnail says AI will kill us all, and yet
right,
you go into the conversation and it's this nuanced and wonderful
right,
discussion about
right,
the emergence of AI, whatever, and it just
right,
finds I'm like, what the hell are you doing? But they have to
right.
get clicks. They have to appeal to that lowest common denominator just to survive,
Yeah.
and have enough. Anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's maddening. But like if we can, and one of the things that I'm hoping to achieve with this book is showing people how you you can create the conditions to have work with AI as a very capable thought partner, as a thinking partner. Is that there's somebody, a friend of mine, follows somebody who has influencer in a number of different areas, and
Yeah.
one of he says a lot, and I don't know if this is, I should probably look it up because other people have probably said it, but one of the things that he said is that you don't have a money problem, you have an idea problem.
Yeah.
And that's like everything. Like we don't have like a world hunger problem. We have an idea problem. Like
Yes.
and AI is here to help us do this. And all of the wailing and gnashing of teeth about, oh, they're training it on our stuff, and they're using up all the electricity and doing this, that, and the other thing, or they're and granted, I would like to be able to keep my AC on all summer long instead of having brownouts because somebody wants to you know do a picture of a woman with three boobs. I mean, um,
It's a very specific example, Kay. It sounds
right?
like
I,
an
I,
experience.
I borrowed it from somebody else.
Okay.
Yeah, it's true. Like they're using it to do like little kitty, like whatever. But
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But the thing is, it's like these are ideas, and these are temporary situations that don't have to stay permanent. If we back off from this and say, no, no, we're not going to train this on any of our stuff, I'm not going to let my stuff train the model. I want my stuff in there because I want the model to think like me. Are you kidding
Right.
me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who
Or like
wanted
us,
that?
right? Like all of us in general. Yeah.
Right? I
Yeah.
know. It's like, you want your sensibilities in there too because it's there, and
And
it's
it's
like,
going to be. Yeah,
right,
exactly.
right.
Yeah, you're cutting yourself off from a anyway. Yeah. But
Right.
that's another
And you're
conversation.
disqualifying, like you're disqualifying yourself from the game because
Yeah.
you're just mad because you didn't get to hold the dodgeball longer than everybody else.
Exactly.
So,
Yes. So
well,
true. Right.
yeah.
Or it wasn't your idea in the first
Right,
place.
right,
Whatever the case. So many reasons that people have for refusing to see past the
right,
nose in front of their face. And again,
right,
that's been the problem we've always had, which
right.
that's the thing that gets me the most excited about this space.
Mhm.
That's what gets me writing constantly
Right.
and trying to spread this message
Yeah.
is that the worst of human tendencies. And again, I'm not saying it's a silver bullet, nor am I saying that it will do this
Right,
without our help,
right,
because we
right,
have to bring something to the table, but
right,
it will provide us an unprecedented opportunity to
right,
challenge those basest human
right,
instincts that we've always struggled with.
right, right.
That's the thing that gets me the most excited about what we're doing here.
And it will give us a detailed action item list
There you go.
that we
Yes,
can follow
exactly.
in
It
two
will
weeks.
document every step. It'll generate a README.
Right, exactly. It put all the files on GitHub for us. It's like all these
Exactly.
things. You want to, let's fix some shit. Like you need to have a repo for this. Is let's fix some shit and like
Yeah,
just put all
World Hunger Repo. That's
right, right, exactly, exactly. Yeah. Well,
I
I
love
I
it.
should I should get going. I'm kind of
Yeah,
I could go on forever, but I feel like we're at a point where it could either go off
perfect.
into like
Yeah, this is a great place to stop. So
yeah,
yeah, over the next couple of weeks, we're planning on releasing something every 2 weeks ish,
yeah,
right, as best we can. Just
yeah,
conversation again. So we'll hopefully be
yeah.
back.
Great. Yeah, looking forwed to it. Great. Thank you
Okay,
so much,
good
Ben.
talking to you.
Good
Yeah,
talking
we'll
to
see you later.
you. See
Bye.
ya.